Well, good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, or where we are now and again. I just wanted to say hi and take a minute and catch you all up on what's going on, or what I'm hoping to be going on, or what we will try to make go on this year, whatever that may be. Um, like I said, from the fort we just visited, it is for sale. And there's actually a few of those forts around in the Modlin Fortress group that is for sale, and not for an exuberant amount of money either. Um, so I wrote the Department of the buildings of the Polish military to find out who is selling this thing and who's selling the other things, because well, let us let's see. This one, you're gonna have a cow when I tell you. Um, the price I saw quoted online, and it's been said for a long time, so nobody wants it. Well, and then here an idiot like myself comes. They want $750 for it. I don't know. I just I think we can dig that up, and there's a very large one we saw not last week, the week before that. That one they sold, including all the property, all the grounds around it. Some years ago, they sold it for $12,000, and then somebody turned it into part of the outskirts of that triangle into summer house area. However, Polish military seems to want to get rid of these things, and I am all in favor of helping them that. Including, I found the missing steel dome. There is one fort where that steel dome still exists, and it is safeguarded, so it can't be visited. I saw that one is for sale as well. So now we're cooking. Um, I'm just trying to find the right person who's handling this within the Polish military. So I wrote all of them. Like I said, my Polish friend is mad at me, so she's not helping. Um, so let's see if we can't buy Lost Battlefields of Fort. And if they're actually selling this now, there's a couple of caveats with this. If we buy one of these things, obviously it's a protected uh, installation, of course. So does that mean we can't clean it up? Because I would want to clean it up. My vision with this is I would want to clean up whatever fort I end up getting, or bunker, or whatever. One day, there will be a lost battlefield fort, and there will be a huge encampment for all of us, where we can start our searches from for the year, minibus, and we can work out of there little thing. Even if I have to put up a container with an office, that's a start. But I would want to clean them up and restore them. Um, what the hell? Okay, I'm sorry, I just lost reception here. We have some electricians working here. Some gates are missing. There's people running in and out. It's yeah, I know. I'm actually running this through a hotspot on my phone, so I'm hoping we can do this without being abandoned all that way. Thank you, Andrew. So Fort Fund. Oh, trust me, there will be a GoFundMe for this. Um, Thank you, buddy. I appreciate that. Can I give you a star on this thing? I'm watching through StreamYard. No, yes, maybe. Yay. Wait, I would want to restore it to the way it would have looked in fighting conditions. There's also a place in Poland. The wonderful thing about doing things in Poland, there's always a dude who can build things or fix things or recreate things, and it doesn't cost the same as buying a prop in this screwy country. But I would want to put up mock weapon. I mean, have weapons facsimiles looked, put in position, from position, close the doors so people get put gates in so people can't get in, of course, and then try to clean it up and make it look as close to how it looked during. Well, this would be World War I. However, this fort also took part of the fighting of Warsaw in 1944 when the Russians came back. They were also, some of them were somewhat involved in 1939, but not a whole lot. And I know I keep trying to tell you how amazingly cool these forts around Modlin, around Warsaw is, because they're all experimental, all different. They're the closest thing in World War I we come to a World War II bunker with steel beams on the ceilings and everything. And I genuinely love it. It's really hard for me to sort of sell them. Am I not moving? Well, well, you don't really need to see me at this point, I suppose. Let me see what I got. What have I got? I am on reception. It is connected. Um, everything's operating in my end. Um, Let me know if that doesn't change. I don't exactly know what I can do about it, Tyrone. I know for a minute my screen went black and I got a count that something wasn't working. But I think we're just throwing out some little improvising, little information here. But there's a lot of benefits from looking around for historic places to take over in Poland, because no one seems to really care much about them. There's not a lot of money to spend. And I would think that we could get one or more of these forts and restore it and have a little museum section set up, do a little museum. And am I still frozen for everybody? I'm not even, if I am through this software, I'm using StreamYard. If I refresh or close and restart, then I will probably, then I will lose you and have to start another one. Let me see. Yeah, I'm trying to find out. All right, audio's fine. All right, well, not much to look at today anyway. It's been a very, very hectic couple of weeks, which is why you got a little bit of a short. Um, Damn, why is this frozen? Because on my end, it's not. I'm terrified to restart. I'm going to try to just refresh my browser window. If I don't end the session, I should be okay. And if I do, I'll start another one up immediately, and we'll just take it from there. We'll just take it from there. Let's once again. Why do you want to look at me anyway? Edit. All right. Did that help? Are we still here? Have we all lost? Okay. All right. I have refreshed. Fixed. All right. Outstanding. So, like I said, I will keep ranting on about these forts around Warsaw and Modlin forever and ever, and I'm dragging myself through them. There's several of them that are still owned and on military. They're all owned by the military until they actually sell them, and some of them are still on military active bases. And I've been writing with a nice lieutenant colonel that I can't remember his name right now, to get permission to come film those. I literally just took the shotgun approach to trying to find out who to get hold of, and I wrote all of the departments in the Polish military about permission to film, and also requesting information on who is in charge of selling these things. So we'll see. And like I said, I always said there will be a European lost battlefields with active headquarters where everybody can have a key and we can come and we can hang out and we can spend the night. And before we, Poland is central to Europe, and at some point in time, God willing, the Ukraine war is going to end, and we can travel further east and the Baltics and everything else. But if you start exploring, Poland is not a bad place. They are not as bureaucratic as the Germans and Austrians, and it is a heck of a lot cheaper to set up have a little place in Poland where we can drive out of or research out of. And there's so much history that took place in Poland, as we all know, which is one of the things that I have really started to dive into, is when I started military history and started reading military history and basic World War II, and you hear the documentaries and everything, and Hitler started World War II. And, well, yes, he did. But the more Then I started reading up on German generals in Barbarossa. What did they see as they crossed the line into Russian territory? And as soon as they crossed the line, they started running into mass buildups of troops, of ammunition stores, of runways. There was the military Russian built the military runway 700 meters from the demarcation line, and they had all these fast tanks, these heavy tanks, and it really, there's always been the speculation that Hitler did this as a preemptive war. And the conclusions I have now come to from having seen this, the evidence, and looked at it quietly, tacitly for a while, for years, is that Hitler had no choice. The problem is Stalin sort of coaxed him into invading Poland by promising, they did their Ribbentrop Pact, so non-aggression towards each other. That was a key part of it. And Julie, thank you. Thank you so much. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Just hold on until we get to the Fortress Fund. In Poland, they'll be fine. As long as you own stuff. Unless I just jump in on a chat that has nothing to do with what I'm talking about. Anyway, what I was saying is, there's every evidence that Hitler and Stalin had done. Hitler would not have invaded Poland if it wasn't because of the Ribbentrop Pact, where it was decided that Russia would invade. They decided to carve up Poland together. So why does Stalin and Russia end up at the end of World War II without any blame? Germans at Nuremberg were sentenced for waging an aggressive war. They invaded Poland. Well, Russia invaded Poland and Finland and Estonia, Latvia, the Baltics, and Romania. So why was the Russians and Stalin not on trial at Nuremberg as well? And we have then, for the longest time, again, because of the Nuremberg trials and because of all the information that was not presented at the Nuremberg trials, we have gone through decades and decades of history learning how and why and who did it, and that might all be wrong and all be faulty. And in addition to that is, as soon as we are being presented with Barbarossa and the Eastern Front, we're told, well, the Germans overran all of the Russians with ease because all their equipment was obsolete. The Russians had heavy tanks with 47 millimeter cannons. The Germans barely had a few of those. Most of the German armor was machine guns, so 37 millimeters. They didn't have a heavy tank at all. And you had Russian tanks with 2, 3, 4 times the horsepower of even the heaviest of the German tanks. So how was that obsolete from the very beginning? There's a lot of Russian armor that was not obsolete, but that's what we've always been told. And I'm going to dig into that. That's one of the things that really bothers me, that I can't go to Russia and see a lot of these things that are only stored there for myself. But I'm going to work on that. That is a definite plan, because I think there's a lot of, I've always been trying to clean up historic misnomers in the teachings of World War II history, or to some degree of World War I. It's all the things we have been told or have perceived from the way we've been told things are not exactly correct. And now that we are trying our best to rewrite history in some cases over here by just denying it, it's really important that people keep our wise is important. It really, really is important that we really start to clean up history and why and how things happen, because we are most certainly making mistakes of historic proportion these days. I'm sorry, I'm blathering on, looking at cameras and everything else. William, hey, buddy. We have all missed you, William. We were all worried that you were sick or something happened to you. Now, again, the Finnish War. Yes, you can look at the numbers and say, well, the Russians had their asses handed to them in Finland. But The Russians attacked in the middle of the winter in sub-zero, way sub-zero temperatures, and they lost people, they lost tank, they got boxed in. The Finnish had what was called an impregnable defense line, the Mannerheim line, by everybody from that contemporaries of the time. There was no way they were going to break in through there, and still the Russians did do that, and they forced the Finns into a peace. So, and again, we say, well, look at how incompetent the Russian army is. The Russian army attacked and eventually overcame the Finnish defenses in the middle of winter at a time where no one else had thought that was possible, even in the summer. So, did the Russian, that then brings us to, well, the Russian army wasn't ready for war. Yes, they were, but they were ready for an aggressions war. The Russians were about to attack Germany in 1941, and their call-up orders had gone out in the weeks before Hitler jumped them. Stalin and no one, everybody in the Russian side had looked up the document, looked up the Germans' fuel supply. They looked up the fuel supply and they said, they can't do it. There's no way the Germans can attack us. But what happened is Russia and Germany agrees to carve up Poland between them and attack Poland. And then they say, we do it this day. And then Russians, Stalin said, oh, I'm going to wait a couple of days. So now Hitler attacks Poland. Everybody declares war on Hitler. Hitler defeats most of the, at least certainly defeats a large part of the Polish military. And then after it has been established that Hitler's the bad guy, Stalin keeps his part of the deal and runs into Poland, takes the other half. And there's lots and lots of photos of the Russians and German soldiers shaking hands. They even had a parade in, what was that name? Oh, Brest. They had a joint parade, the Russians and the Germans, in 1939. So, well, the Russians never got blamed for any of this, and they were planning to attack Germany. They were even looking at the price of sheep. They were looking at what oils. They had spies all over France and Germany picking up rags from the Germans cleaning up their guns, all in Poland as well, because they wanted to see if the Germans were changing oil to a cold weather oil in their vehicles or for their gun cleaning, because they knew how cold it gets in the East. And they thought they had all the respect for the German generals. They're the smartest general. They're really intelligent. They would never, ever attack Russia without proper preparation. They don't have enough oil reserves to do it. But, so they were looking at the price of sheep, because the price would go up, because the German army would have to, if they had been smart, stock up on sheepskins clothes. They would have to begin to change and stock up on cold weather oils and lubricants, and they didn't. So Stalin never ever thought that the Germans were going to attack him, and then he did, because, and it's interesting when you see all those fancy books that are written by Russian soldiers after the war, and all the decades after the war, they always show where the German troop concentrations were, but they never show where the Russian troop concentrations were. And they were right opposite the German concentrations, right on the other side of the border. They were all lined up. There was thousands of train cars full of munitions and oils ready to cross. They had frontline hospitals moved up right to the border, to the demarcation line. The Russians were ready to jump off within a week or two. And they did exactly the same thing as when they prepared for France or for Mongolia, when they fought the Japanese. And they had a very significant battle with the Japanese in 1940. And I will go over that as soon as I find enough information to actually explain to you this was the test bed far, far, far away from Europe. No, and Stalin didn't publish that battle. They built up quietly in secrecy to defeat the Japanese army, who had well-defended lines. The Japanese didn't suspect. Nobody suspected. There was 1,000 kilometers of transportation line of distance they had to cover in trucks to field that army. Thank you, William. Thank you, buddy. I'm just glad you're okay and in one piece. Can't just drop off the map like that. You guys should know that if you follow the channel here or you're part of us, we need to know I need regular medical health updates. I need to assure everybody's safe and well. And if you're traveling to interesting places, I want photos, damn it. Anyway, Stalin defeated a well prepared, well dug in Japanese army by build up and control, moving everything, including hospitals, supplies, logistics, airstrips, all the way up to the Japanese lines. That was the test bed for what he was going to do against the Germans. And they had called up the orders, everything in secrecy, um, just like they did in 1945, leading up to their invasion of Manchuria. Did the same thing. The Russians always kept the same the same way of doing things, and it always worked. And so when Hitler jumped off, that's one of the reasons why it was so easy for him, for the German armies initially to encircle hundreds of thousands of Russian soldiers and to destroy so much on the ground. Um, that's all right, Andrew, because it was there. It was there ready for advancing. And that's the difference between you need a different army of aggression than you do for defense. The Russian army had begun removing mines and barbed wire from their front of their demarcation line, so they could cross towards the German side easier and attack easier. They removed the demolition charges for the bridges. If you're expecting to be attacked, you do just the opposite. So all the documentation is there that the Russians were waiting for attack. They had tanks. What is it? There was the BT-7 that could go 60 miles an hour on roads. Well, there weren't no roads in Russia if they were going to have it defend. It was a fast, light tank. You don't need a fast, light tank if you're defending your own country. You need that to attack. So the whole thing about the Russians' army was obsolete and incapable. Well, it wasn't, but a lot of their buildup was so close to the German lines, it was overrun in a month. And that's what I saw reading the German generals like Hoth's army, his diary and others' diaries. That's what they kept running into, an enormous buildup. And I think historians to a large degree have ignored this. And it's a misnomer, keep saying that the Russian equipment was obsolete. And that's why I want to dive more into this. And I actually want to see some of the Russian armor, because some of it was the T-34 was way ahead of its time and way ahead of anything the Germans had at the same comparable time. And remember when that was developed, remember how the heavy Russian tanks they had in 33, 34, 35, even the planes they had in those years were way ahead of anything. The Russians had a four engine bomber. The Germans never really had one. So we can't really say the Russians were obsolete in their equipment. The Americans helped them set up production lines of all these things. Otherwise, they could produce all of this, except they had problems producing some of the key specific things they needed for like airplane engines. But that's one of the things I want to dive into this year for one. And because the thing that's interesting, I'm also going to dive into there's what are we up to 5 battles of Warsaw in 1944 to 45, which was pivotal battles where the SS Viking and Hermann Göring Division, Das Reich, was involved in very heroic fighting. Okay. Well, I'll take a question. If you have permission, I'll actually show you the question, see if I can manage to do this. If I had permission to choose a place to dig and search, where would that be? Jonastal, Orisa, or somewhere else entirely? I would really like to dig up Jonastal. I know there's stuff in the ground in Jonastal. I'm not sure where I would want to dig in Riese. Yeah, I am. I would dig. I would try to get in. Okay, I would try to get into the closed mine shafts around the Henge, because I'm pretty sure they dumped a lot of stuff in there if they didn't actually. But it's vertical mine shafts, some of them. They're flooded. It's dangerous. It's practically impossible since they've been sealed. I would like to know. I would also drill test holes in all the tunnels, especially the one under the castle, to see if there was under, because they're always they dug some, they drilled some here and there. I'm pretty sure there would be more. If you really started looking, there might be more underground in some of these places. The Richard mine, I would very much like to look more into because, but again, deep dangerous. I know Tom wants to go, and we'll go have a look. Caveat's been there, said it's by now it's too dangerous to go, but um, so maybe we'll have to bring him, keep us alive. Jonastal, we know there's stuff underground, and I have a rough idea what some of it is. So yeah, definitely there, definitely on in that whole area. And also, I would like to look more into on the Bergkristal up in Goosen because it has been destroyed for a reason. And even the former mayor of Goosen said he wanted to know what's underground up there. And he's a member of parliament now. And we reached out to him to see if we can get some permission to look because he wants to know. And he said the government, the Austrian government, shut down the thorough investigation of Bergkristal and that area. Here's Tom. Got something to say on that. There are too many locations, and yeah. There's at least 10 places. There are so many places. One of the questions you guys ask me a lot is, do I still think that there are things that are hiding underground that haven't been found? Yes, I do. Oh dear Lord, yes, I do. And matter of fact, I just got an interesting email over the past couple of days with a whole lot of documentation about a secret bunker um, that was dug down under near an airfield that has been exceptionally hidden, also in the documents. And there may be something, maybe a lab bunker, maybe radiation, maybe toxic chemicals. It's still being watched, and so, and that's interesting. It was a place I haven't heard of because no one's heard of it. And there's a guy who wrote me about this who's been spending many years a soldier out there, and a lot of the soldiers got sick when they're around that area, and he was covered up, cleaned up, filled up, built in a swamp. Kamla was involved, um, and after the war, very quickly destroyed and just filled up. So theoretically, you can't see anything, but there's still more. So yes, there are a lot of undiscovered underground locations, and it gets to be really interesting to see if we can find them. Like I said, I'm still waiting for a ungodly number of FOIA requests, and if any of you guys have um, experience with dealing with the German archives, Austrian archives, or if God willing, the Russian archive, please reach out to me. There's some research. I can't even get a response from the researchers connected to the National Archives here because since they were closed down for a year and a half during flu season, um, they're so backed up. I can't even hire a dedicated researcher, and to navigate these places, you really need somebody who knows what they're doing, other than just standing there like, I would like something related to this or that. But there's so many documents. And the interesting thing is when I talked to the Austrian archives and the guy in charge of construction or wartime of Austrian construction, and I asked about information on Bergkristal and some of the tunnel systems. He said, no, we have nothing to do with that because that was built by the Germans. I'm like, yeah, but it's built on Austrian soil. Nope, doesn't matter. He had nothing to do with that. None of it. And he was in charge of the World War II documents. And then Tom reminded me that, well, the Americans repatriated all the confiscated documents to the Austrian archives um, uh, in see, now I forget what it was again, in the 90s at some point, I believe it was. And I asked him about that. I said, well, okay, so what about all the documents you got back from the Americans? Hey, you never heard or seen them. So what, didn't they get tracked? The boxes get lost from the Americans, transferred to Austria? There's so much nonsense going on. So what do you see? Military Fair, Arnhem, March 30th. Yeah, I'm not going to make it, Telly. I'm here. I really, hey, Switch Studios. I was planning on going out to Poland real quick here in March. Actually, now. um, just to set up something. Look at the forts, certainly, and I'm drowning in work is a nightmare right now. So, and the military is in complete upheaval. What a shock that is. Um, yeah, well, I don't really want to be near all the stuff that could be in there, but I do want to see what I do want to know what it is. So we can start with some water samples of the lake, and the lake sitting over that bunker I was talking about before is apparently monitored with motion detectors. It's a lake in a forest. Of course, it's a nature gebiet. Hello, hello. Of course they did. They they made it a nature habitat, which they have done with every single secret place. And just wait, when the military pulls out of Jonastown, which one day they will, that will be turned into nature gebiet as well, so you can't dig in it anymore. It's almost as if they're it's not almost as if they are deliberately making it impossible to dig. Um, uh, well, because I don't have the same kind of clout as Tucker Carlson. I, I am not exactly internationally famous, um, but it's interesting when I saw there. Of course, they've been talking to Tucker Carlson about this interview, and Boris Johnson, a glorious commander, a former leader out in England, was trashing him and everything he said, and Tucker reached out to him for an interview to clarify his point of view so they could talk. And Boris said, yeah, he would do an interview with Tucker if he paid him $1 million. So much for politicians. Everybody's for sale. I just don't have anything to offer. Um, yeah, I'm gonna turn into a biologist. I'm gonna study the history of tree frogs in in. Oh yeah, that's what we're gonna do. We're going to start studying nature and small animals and how they live in areas of former military importance. See if there's any relevance to the tree frog living there. Yeah, okay, that's what we're gonna do. Yeah, that bores. But yeah, I mean, but we also have to remember we're actually looking for truth of history. And speaking of, some of you guys have, of course, we studied. Oh, bats, of course. Wow, bats is a must. Um, I'm still thinking on weapon eye of building mating a bat with a spider and see if I can't get them to hunt squirrels. Maybe we can get hold of the boar. Um, yeah, I'll take a little super villainy. So we're looking for the truth of history in a time where everybody is actively lying to us. The media, the schools, the history books, the press, our governmental leaders. There's no one we have left to trust except our own instincts. And for the young generation who haven't been raised getting their hands dirty, using their instincts for survival or living or work, how are they going to navigate the world that's coming? But anyway, and it's interesting because that led me to another thing I started studying was, do I visit the show of shows military? Oh, hang on. I got caught up behind half a comment here. Oh, I don't know. Do what? Jeez. When do you visit the show of shows military? Would like to hear your comments on such an armed military affair. If ever I'm lucky enough to have time and be in this right place at the right time, I would absolutely love to go. I would love to go to the War and Peace show as well. I just always seem to find myself in the wrong part of the country or the world when these things happened. Um, well, I'm pretty sure DeSantis, he would let me into Florida. I'm not entirely. I'll buy a Ford for 7 for. Yeah, so will I. That's kind of so exactly what I'm planning on doing. Um, I'm certain at some point in time we will all relocate to Florida because we're gonna have to. But we shall see. Um, Yeah, I have started seeing more people starting to copy and visit places we've gone to and stuff, and the locations are all generally publicly available. And this is one thing they don't have. That's me. So that might be a good thing or a bad thing, but I think maybe if we can get my Polish translator in on something, obviously she's not a historian, but she's actually competing in her first fitness competition in a couple of months. Good, all the best to her. Uh, I just figured I had to do something to wake you guys up in the morning, and a pretty girl will certainly do that. And let's just even just I'm not going to be able to pronounce anything in Polish. Let's just not even go there. Um, there are two series that are spin-off series of these that will eventually land on TV that my team is editing together now. That's where, well, at least they're putting it together and delivering to distribution, and we'll see if that helps. Because the more we get, or I get my shows on TV and known and heard and seen and followers and all this nonsense, the easier it will be. It will be to get more information out of archives and get to see more places. And yeah, well, I think we've done quite a bit to make Hans Kamala famous, um, for one. But there's an interesting thing I saw. I studied that one. Some of you guys told me to take a look at this. You asked me Civil War question. Hang on for a minute. Yes, my dear.
You want me to move the car? Because they're gonna leave soon.
If you want.
I can move up and you can move, screw in there and let's just go back.
All right.
Let's go.
Okay. Obviously, we're doing stuff here, so moving cars. Like I said, we have people building one half of the building. Um, yeah, Polish is hard, and that's why I just figured get something else to do. No, I started looking into the Civil War, and then I started looking into lectures by. Hold that thought. I have to fix. Yeah. All right. Like I said, the office is closed. We're all living in containers these days. Um, anyway, I thought it was really interesting when I started seeing really well documented, and there's no ambiguity about this. This is an actual fact. There were thousands and thousands and thousands of free black men that fought on the side of the Confederacy. There were thousands and thousands and thousands of Indians, native Indians, that fought on the side of the Confederacy. There were thousands of black slaves that fought on the side of the Confederacy because they would be given their freedom. And while in Lincoln's army, Lincoln was busy closing down. Lincoln closed down over 300 radio stations, newspapers, because they were not sympathetic with the way he waged the war, and he wouldn't allow blacks weapons. When he finally allowed blacks in the army, 2 years into the Civil War. So, and we're all. I know that that's a narrative that doesn't work for anybody, but it's still the truth. And I like now they're starting talking about reparations for American blacks. I'm like, well, I guess you have to find out if there were free black men, or if there were free black men fighting for the Confederacy, or there were free black men owning slaves themselves, or where exactly that went. So, it gets complicated when you start digging into the truth of history. But that's where history becomes important to know and understand. Um, hold on to that thought for a second. Once again, let's do this thing. No. what we call miniature house living. We're all insistent in all little. No, I had to move my car so somebody else could get out. It's like I said, it's that kind of weekend. It's that kind of week. It's that kind of month. I can't wait to get back to Europe. And oh, that's so now it's time to start looking at where am I going this year and what do we need to do. I really would like. Um, I really would like to do some Maginot Line Fort Alpine forts. Really would like that because they're just really cool and we haven't seen a lot of them. And over to Italy, then I would like to see some of the Italian forts facing Germany that was built until 42, which I think is interesting. We've never talked about why the Italians are still building those forts towards their allies. Um, with a little luck, I'll make my way up to Switzerland this time, see some of the big Swiss forts, because Lord knows there's a lot of them. Of course, Tom and I and others, we have interesting plans for Austria, which you will see as you see them. Uh, Obviously, I'm not done with Poland, and I'm trying to see if I can get. I mean, I know I can get to visit some of the forts of Brest, but the other half is in Belarus, and I'm not entirely sure I can get into Belarus or should, especially since my an American passport or a European passport with Ukrainian stamps in it. That just may be a bad idea. Then I can wave my press credentials around all I want, but we'll see. There's a network that reached out to my agency and see if I wanted to do. They want to send me as to Ukraine or Palestine as a um, combat journalist. I haven't seen any numbers on that yet. Sounds like an incredibly bad idea, but it also they did say they had a really good life insurance policy. It's like life insurance policy. I don't care about that. Is there a good kidnap insurance policy that I was kind of much more interesting? I really have to give that to Norway because there's so much cool stuff in Norway, and there's a lot of cool stuff in Sweden. Pia, got to see Pia's actually live human being. That there's some really cool forts up in Sweden, but I also know some of them are locked, so I have to figure out how to get permission. I have to figure out who's sitting on these things. That's one thing that drives me crazy is when there's a fort and it's locked, and I don't know who owns it, who to contact, who to talk to. It drives me nuts because I don't want to just start showing up with a TIG welder, no TIG welder with a welding torch everywhere and start just breaking into things. Um, but Lord knows there's some places I really want to go to. I would also like to see if there's any part of the Manaheim line we can see. Um, Hang on for a minute. Are you leaving? All right. Do you need anything on for tomorrow? Like I said, it's that whole thing. Now I'm kicking out the gaggle. All right. You know what? Talk amongst yourselves for a minute. Um, let's see. Yes. Yeah. There'll be a lost battlefield something in the will. Hang on. All right, back to that again. So, where were we? Should sign the location. We could all work. That's yeah. That actually that is sort of kind of what I wanted to do. Besides trying to work together on archives. If anybody has any ins on the archives, I used to work with those, and of course, like and oh, son of a donkey! Hang on. Bye, everybody. Not you guys. Other everybody's are leaving. I said we're all housed up in our little container lives here nowadays. Um, yeah, I love it when you guys send me videos of all these really cool places, like the place in Sweden. I just got a link for it. Oh, I have to go visit it. Except all I saw was all these locked steel doors. We got to figure out who owns the damn thing. But what we did, I almost disappear again. But when you send me, and this is where I'm just going to be stuff going on. Some homeless person getting stabbed outside. Be quiet, or I'll go shoot you. Anyway, um, try to find out where the place is when you send. There's so many cool explorers that explore everywhere and they go to all these places. And I really want to go to some of them because I think I could pick something out of them that they can't. I think I could. There's a lot of these places they go and they visit and they're urbexers and they don't really know what's in there or why. I would love to go to these places and piece it together, but I don't know where they are because they never post it. Before I send me the videos, try to dig up a little bit, if you can, of where these places are, because it would make my life easier to actually it would give me a leg up of being able to find a place. And by the way, I saw you. Thank you. Bloody hell. Andrew, stop it. Björn Sigmund, är du norsk? Men, vad helvete. Björn, är du norsk eller är du svensk? Tack ska du ha, tack så mycket. Andrew, thank you. Get first passport. Lock me. Oh, no. In the late 90s, early 2000s, when there was a certain detente between the militaries, between Russians and Norsk, fantastic. We were starting to do some training with the military, with the Russians. Just started a little bit of. They were showing up, we were showing up, and I did a week of specialty training with Russians in Latvia. And as it is with Russians, and I have lots of Russian friends. Don't take it with the fact I have lots of Ukrainian friends, and I wish they weren't busy killing each other right now. But that's a different story. It was working with. One thing is you cross the German border towards the east. If you're going to work with certain people, you damn well better drink with them. And I don't really drink much. I really don't. It's never really my thing. I'll have my cigar, I'll eat my pastries. But drinking beer with Russians doesn't work. So it turned into 12-hour days, sleeping in old military barracks, and downing at least a half a bottle of vodka every night. So when we got to day four, we had an 8-hour class of Russian lockpicking, and we had interpreter talking a little bit about key to go into very slowly. You have to open this and you do notch and then on an hour and a half sleep. The only thing I took away from that Russian lockpicking course is if I come across a door, I blow it. It's like I have no recollection. I don't even think I was awake through half of it. Right. Yeah, you gotta seal your stomach liner before you go play with certain people. But it was a lot of fun, and it really was. All right, so besides Holland and Sweden, Holland, yeah, Holland too. Good. Well, didn't we already talked about? We already talked about, buddy. I'm going to Holland. I have to go to Holland. There's way too many of you people sending me way too much stuff from Holland that I definitely has to go. That I have to go back to Holland, which is cool because it's always also in the way or on the way where I'm going. I am hoping I have this reenactment group in Czechia. Sorry, events changed. They're going to show me some interesting underground places, and there's more looking for Kamla stuff there. Plus, Tom and I are going to visit Richard Mine. There's a few places in Germany. I don't have a lot of marks in Germany because I'm sick and tired of dealing with German governmental agencies in order to get to research anything. They're so busy destroying things, locking things up, making it impossible. And I see they're starting to get channels taken down if they go to places they're not allowed to, and at which at this point in time is any of them. Um, I don't know what they're doing out there, but it's driving me crazy. Door barn, thank you, buddy. You're bound to find a SWAT door knocker out there. We actually have some really specialty stuff that can cut through any metal, and it doesn't heat up and it doesn't smoke much. But that's a different story. So there are ways to get into places, but I really would like to not go too crazy and break into. Well, I'm trying to maintain relations with everybody. So I'm trying not to piss them off until they really piss me off to the degree that certain agencies have. And also, I have now finally hammered out a deal to go visit the Maybach, the connecting tunnels, and get a full day out there filming whenever I get out there. Now that we started planning that in advance, there's a couple of places in Germany we need to see, and I have been told, and one of you who's listening, probably the one who told me, that one of Zelensky's companies bought Goebbels' villa and the whole area there outside of Berlin in Lanke. Okay, I don't know why, but I don't. I would imagine the reason why he bought it, or if they bought it, they obviously yes, companies like every government country leader have companies. I don't know why. I, I surmise there's a huge in the GDR times. There's a Russian general who made sure that Goebbels' house didn't get blown up because he liked it, so that's why it's intact. And then behind it, there was a huge complex built for GDR, East German era military school, I believe it was. Are you picking my lock, boy? I swear. Don't make me. Oh. We don't have a studio in the most friendly place in the part of town. Um, if I don't show up to dead rats, they'll be showing up to dead homeless people. Anyway, or ODs. LA's a great place these days. Thank you, Newsom. Anyway, I'm imagining that if he bought it, it's because of all these huge buildings. They're really nice. I've been there. I filmed whatever I could. Couldn't get into the house because we couldn't get a hold of anybody. And the German government, I wrote the mayor of the local town if she could let me document the Hunker House. And she said, no, we don't have anything to do with it. By BIG, Bundesimmobiliengesellschaft. And I wrote them, said, no, they have nothing to do with it. It's for sale by somebody else. I said, well, okay, if I want to buy it, who's going to show it to me? Well, we have nothing to do with it. Or a different department, they have nothing to do with it. Typical Germany. Nobody has anything to do with anything, so nothing can be done. Which is, and it's yeah. At this point in time, asking for permissions in a place where you only get no's, or I don't knows, or can't be done. At this point in time, fine, give me a ticket for trespassing because I'm sick and tired of show with proper credentials, references from networks. Like I do the YouTube thing, but I also do the stuff for networks to actually document historically important locations. And all you get is a no, or I don't know, or bleh. John, how could I possibly respond to such a question without incriminating myself? Have I been to tunnels that were off limits? Couldn't say such a thing. Oh, never. I plead the fifth. And if you watched my entire channel, you know why. Or if you're on the membership, if you watch some of the stuff in the members only area, you would also have the answer to that question. Oh, yes. I mean, German and bureaucracy. Have you seen the German procurement method in the military? What are they? What are you, 10 years? If there's any Germans here, gibt's da hier eine Deutsche? 10 years in picking a new helmet. Because God knows, there's no NATO army, like, I don't know, maybe the Americans, have a helmet that might work for the Germans' head. 10 years. They still haven't picked one yet. For last, they're turning it all into condominiums. I had a hope, Tom, for a minute that it was actually on the Polish side, so we can buy a condo there. But yeah, I mean, what else are you going to do with it? Fine. There's a lot of the bunkers or the Hochbunkers in Hamburg that turn into condominiums or playhouses, or restaurants. I would prefer them just all being turned into a museum, but then somebody with slightly more common sense than I will say, well, if we turned everything that was ever historically important into a museum, then we would have no place to live. And they're probably right about that. So I'm like, all right, fine. There's also a couple of Hochbunkers in Gdansk that I'm curious about. And I'm talking to a real estate dude in Gdansk about a little apartment or a little something on Poland's territory. So yeah, give me B&D. Well, I mean, they should just hire me. And I'm still waiting for the CIA to respond to their request. And then when they're going to respond, they're going to do it at the most inopportune time and give me a week to appeal. And that's probably going to be the week where I'm like sitting somewhere in Ukraine or somewhere else. But anyway, we're going to I have a couple of lawyers who offer to help with the suit against them to get them to release this information. All right, so you don't want to let the president tell who killed Kennedy, fine, or 9/11, fine, but this is World War II. Come on now. But that's the same argument I've been going on forever, ever. Maybe Zelensky will now. Maybe do an interview with him. There were a couple of really interesting bunkers I know of, underground airplane shelters in Ukraine that I wanted to visit that was built by the Germans during the war. But last time I was there, it was sort of like also giving the idea. Now, today, I would have no problem getting in a car and driving around Ukraine. I would be fine with that. You were in prison 20. Very funny. All right, here's the question that I don't understand. I spent a little time with my ex and her kids, and who in the hell designed the pants for G.I. Joe? I mean, seriously, have any of you ever tried to help a 4-year-old little girl put pants back on the G.I. Joe? It's impossible. It can't be done. I mean, who made this stuff? I'm not saying they have to be like MC Hammer baggies, but seriously, I don't know. Who's G.I. Joe? Is that Disney? I don't know. I'm just saying, there are questions I have about children's toys here. So now I have to go out and buy a uniform for G.I. Joe that fits. That's what you get when you play Uncle. But yes, there's a lot of things out in Holland that are sort of building up. But yeah, skinny jeans for G.I. Joe. Can you please go to whatever? So anyway, speaking of, I'm still considering if I'm going to make it to D-Day or not. The celebrations. G.I. Joe's still around, and G.I. his girlfriend's well, the Barbie's. I don't care what they say. G.I. Joe and Barbie, they have to be. That's got to be a couple, right? I mean, what does Barbie want with Ken? Some pencil neck who never served his country? Kick him to the curb. You go out with G.I. Joe. Well, G.I. Joe, damn it. or GI Ken doll. I'm confused. Right. And of course, until GI Joe deploys, and then Ken will show up and be a douchebag. But anyway, um, uh, I'm just saying. I'm just saying. The little 4-year-old girl, she looked at me and called me dad, and I'm like, holy crap! And she's like, oh wait, oh you're not my dad. I'm sorry. I'm like, that's okay. So I may be in more trouble than I thought I would be in, but see, I don't have any kids or dog, but I don't know. Do I blame Barbie? Do I blame Barbie for emasculating Ken? Like, no. I mean, if they make Barbie super intelligent, thinks she knows everything better than everybody else, like, an American chick politician on the left, then yeah, maybe. Um, I just think we all need to watch more Married with Children because that would probably just help. Um, well, in today's military, Ken may as well grow breasts because you all saw the U.S. military announce that they are doing rearrangements, preparing for the conflicts to come. That's what it says. The truth of that is they have had such a hard time recruiting into their new transgender military that no one is signing up, and they actually have to start shutting departments and units down. That is their idea of relocation. So the government we have now is currently destroying the U.S. military actively and downsizing it because they have no more choice. That's what happens. So we may as well just keep making movies. Uh, well, I mean, on the Ken doll, I don't. There really wasn't any of that. Um, he was emasculated, just like the liberals want men to be. I can't believe none of you have visited the store yet and bought any of our Lost Battlefields T-shirts. Um, and so that is pretty much at this point all I wear. The T-shirts are actually really comfortable, and the hoodie is really nice and warm. And I will eventually, as we grow, turn into getting a Lost Battlefields Alpha Male T-shirt as well. We've got the patriotic gear, the soldier gear. There will be an Alpha Male T-shirt or Alpha Males Built the World T-shirts as well. So, I mean, hello, I'm designing all this stuff, and machine is cleaning up my designs. So, buy a T-shirt. Not for the money; they're not expensive. They're just cool. I just want to go out in Europe and explore, and sometime or go to a military show and run into somebody wearing one of my T-shirts, and then I can die peacefully. Yes, the Spooder T-shirts are still up, and the Hail Odin T-shirt should be up. Robert said it would come up last week, but he never sent me a link. But the Hail Odin T-shirt should be up as well. Um, yeah, that's right, you did. How did this turn into a Barbie chat? Um, because I was helping my ex's 4-year-old girl put on pants on her Ken doll, and I was complaining about it, and I have no idea how I got onto that, but well, I'm low on coffee and high on work, so all right, what are we gonna do? Since you're all here, what am I gonna do? I got some more of those Polish fortresses that I'm driving you all crazy with, but now it gets the Donkey Faust T-shirt. That's up. That's been up for a while. Uh, we did the Donkey Faust T-shirt. It's on the web. It's on the website. There's a patch too. Um, um, so now that you know that I'm trying to buy one, that should maybe now you're gonna understand why I'm so hard up for these Polish forts. There's also a reenactment group in Czechia who's going to show me some of the bunkers there for sale. But that's just bunkers, and it'll be interesting. I mean, we'll see. Let's try to make Lost Battlefield. Let's try to. And there's not like any of these entities are selling these because they want to make money. They're selling them because they don't have to deal with them. Oh, that's what I was saying. Buying these bunkers or forts has the two possible caveats I need to know is, can I restore them completely the way I want them? And am I now, by owning them, liable for some idiot explorer walking onto the property in the middle of the night, falling into a hole and breaking his neck. That's the two things I need to know. What can I do and what can't I do and what am I liable for? Is like if you can get a castle for not that much, but you are liable for keeping it for the upkeep and maintenance. So those are the things I need to know. But other than that, I would love that. There's an east wall bunker, um, 7 ports, steel dome turret, really nice, restored. That the dude wants to sell, but he wants like 100,000 euros for it, and like no. Um, so if we can start taking over some of these, and that's one thing we should look at in around wherever we are. Where are there all these abandoned bunkers? Find out who owns them, and I mean, one not like a pillbox, something maybe a little bigger than a pillbox because got to be room for something in it. But take them over, volunteer to take them over. Let's clean them up. Put a sign on, say we own this, we safeguard it. Here's a coffee mug. Let's try to start preserving these things. If we take private ownership of them, not only do we have a fairly safe wine basement for wine cellar for all of us, but we also that now they can't be destroyed. Um, so I think that's something that's worth looking into. And I always said I wanted to make Lost Battlefields a non-profit, a charitable organization to actually start doing that, to start preserving historical monuments around. And well, it starts with one, but there you are in all countries. So why can't we have some wherever they're available, wherever nobody wants them, or they're just sitting derelict away? Put a door and a padlock on there and start cleaning it up. And I was actually thinking about if I take over like the fort, maybe fence it in, or have an arrangement at the door where if you scan your driver's license so I know who's inside, and it will let you in, and then you can go roam around, and then you just doesn't save it, but then I have an idea of who's inside in case I show up one day and there's a bunch of graffiti, which or something had been stolen, but make it somehow accessible without anybody being there. That is sort of my thought. Yes, I am aware what they did at Fort Flamal. I was there, and I actually talked about. There's a Humvee at my gate. Why the hell is that? Hang on. I actually talked about that the lecture I gave in Ukraine, which was about something completely different. I shall return. Like I said, the electricians are coming. Sorry about that, everybody. But I figured we get to talk so seldom, and it has to be on the day where rain had destroyed half of the walls and all the weather. We're sitting out here anyway. So anyway, I think that's the sort of my vision for Lost Battlefields. So we can. He came in a Hummer. It was a Hummer 3. It doesn't count. I just looked at the screen. I thought it was a Hummer 2 at least, but never mind. Um, and I'm also looking at getting a Lost Battlefields car in Europe because I have to. Every year I rent a car for 2-3 months. It's ridiculous. So if any of you guys have a car dealer out there in Europe somewhere, let me know. Figure something diesel automatic. That'll. But yeah. Anyway, so that's kind of what I'm planning on doing. I would love to go down to the southern part of France and look at some of the U-boat bunkers and defenses down there. Guernsey. I haven't been to Guernsey because every time I look, all I see is museums, 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 and museums. And I keep thinking, well, if they turn everything into a museum, there's not really much fun in looking around there. But I do know a lot of the barrels of the cannons they tossed over the cliff and they're still in the water. But that's a different story. Hey, outstanding. Actually, I got to order some more shit for myself too. You know what? I would not mind having a Skoda. The Skoda, what is it called? The station wagon. Is really, what I drove that a few times. Very, very nice. I mean, it will be like 10 years old, diesel. Obviously, I'm not going to buy any new. It's not like I'm rich here. But I need to, I might as well have a car out there. 1 ton 4x4 dual 4 diesel. Exactly. I was looking for an old military G Wagon from one of the European militaries because they used to be dirt cheap. I know the Danish military would sell G Wagons for $1,000, $2,000. Need a little bit of work. Now, I can't find any. Now they're 10 or 15 if you can find them. I figure, Tom, yeah, you may as well because I got a quote for a Puch, and I think it was 25,000 euros. I was like, thanks, but no, no thanks. I think 5,000 euro. What about a Volkswagen Jetta Combi or station wagon or something? And for I think the diesel engine until 2008 was one of the most reliable they had, I believe. But yeah, something reliable and cheap to drive, and then we'll have something to park at the fort when we get to it. And I'm looking at a couple of different cameras. Also, as we start doing tours, eventually a minibus will be a thing we'll need so we can actually do the tours. But it's been a bit of a crappy year when it comes to money. I gotta say. You know what? I have an E-Class that I have 265,000 miles on it. Love the thing. Just maintenance. I don't want to get rid of it. First of all, my mechanic tells me I'm not allowed to buy anything newer, and it just doesn't stop. It's great. But yeah, a Combi is sort of. I would need to have room in it, and it also need to have enough clearance to actually get through things. Nature-wise, that's why I would kind of like to have had a G Wagon. But if it was a 2, 3, 4, 5,000, as it used to be, fine. We'll look into it. 20, no, it's just fine. It's just I'd just rather bite the bullet, and because I used to pay that in rental cars every year, which is ridiculous because it's just money that doesn't come back. So anyway, that is sort of the plan for this year, and I figure really going to start around May 1 as usual. Usual 3 months as usual, depending on what the deal is with the Ukraine. Possibly going to go back again. I'm at least for a little while. Say hi to a few friends. I would like to. I know that our sister unit up here in California have been training the units of the Ukrainian artillery, and when they ship back, I'll try to wrangle myself as the PAO to go with them out to the front, see how they're doing there. But everything is up in the air. We gotta shoot stuff for you guys because we gotta be entertained, and that's what I say. So I'm gonna let you choose the next episode. Where I got some really cool forts. What I did with Roger. I have a whole lot of fortified lines, bunker lines around Europe. Excuse me. I can show you what else have I got. I do still have Fort Flamal. I haven't actually done that episode yet because, speaking of Flamal, I never got into the ventilation tower. I was saying, well, I can just go back and go to the ventilation tower. I haven't seen that yet. I'm also working on a really, really long episode from Ibn Amara because last time I was there, I got to visit every single one of the fighting positions, all of them. So I filmed all of them from the inside and outside. So now I can show you, now we can go through the battle, say the Germans landed here. Then the first thing this group went there to do this to that tower. And then we go inside that position. And then at this time, a minute later, this group went to this position, and we go there. That's kind of what I'm planning with Ibn Amal. But so far, just the raw footage is 4 hours long, and that's without any of the research or documentation. So it is a nightmare to edit, and it takes a lot longer than I thought it would. But that's one of the things that's coming. I also have the remaining part of Fort Cassel that you never saw, the unrestored part, which looked really good still. There's some. Yeah, I've got a lot of stuff to show you. So, but we got to go out and get some more fortresses and more fortresses. There was a huge. Maybe I can wrangle all of you guys. There was a huge abandoned NATO headquarters in Italy, somewhere in the mountains, somewhere up there, maybe down on the other side. One of you guys wrote me that you knew the guy who took care of it. I'm trying to figure out who of you wrote me about that for years now, because I really want to go. It's huge. I saw some people crawl in it, but I figure if it's someone who's there taking care of it with a key and who knows what's what, let's call the dude. I'm trying to call the dude. I'm also looking at the Baltics. Go up to the Baltics and take a look. There's a fort comparable, from what I've been told, to Modlin up in Estonia or Latvia. I forget, but I can't find it. In fact, I can't find any of the interesting things in Latvia and Estonia that I was sort of looking for. But that doesn't. I haven't started looking that detailed. I also had hoped there was part of the Menaheim line still available to be seen on the Finnish side of the border. Opel Manta, that was my first car. I think it was a '79 Opel Manta, and you know what? That was really cool. That actually was really cool. That was a cool car. That brings back memories. Uh, that's what I'm thinking about Riga too. And I have an ex there, and I know some. I knew a lot of the people in the special police units in Riga because I trained with them. I just haven't reached out for a decade, but I would assume some of them are still there. They weren't that old. But yeah, that would be interesting. This was a place in Riga I know where they made really good crepes, but that's a different story. Oh yeah, there are William. There's some really interesting places in Sweden, and I don't know how Sweden are with locking up their stuff. But what I have seen in videos from others, some forts in Sweden, is that they're locking up stuff. So now I have to find out who owns the individual forts before I go there, uh, which is fine. They want to make a new Opel Menta. You know what? Well, the Americans wanted to make a new whole lot of anything, but they made a new. Oh yeah, the Saab Underground. Can we get in? Where's that one? Saab Underground. Yes. But that's still the turn. That's the huge civilian air raid shelter, isn't it? I never liked Saab because the way they looked, but yeah, they died. What was I saying? I had a thought on something there. That went away painfully slow. Um, yeah, but there's a lot of interesting things in Sweden I would like to see. And the same thing for Norway. There's a couple of things in Norway you absolutely have to see. There's also a couple of things in Denmark we absolutely have to see. Andrew, didn't you always? Yeah. Thank you, Andrew. I appreciate you truly. Problem with picking locks of some of the ones I've seen is the lock from the inside. There's no actual lock to pick, which means you have to find the one. Tom, did you see that email I sent you with that fort up in Sweden built into stone? So awesome. So there has to be one door where there has to be an outside lock that somebody has the key to. Damn it. Saab. Oh yeah, Saab made. They still make jets. Saab had a jet that was flying in the Danish Air Force and several other air forces for a while. What was one of these? Was it 3,000 or something? Yeah, they actually made a decent jet. And they made a lot of different things. Um, it's been a while since I've been to Sweden. Naughty women you have in Sweden, I will say. Uh, Possibly not as cute as the ones in Norway. I'm just saying. Uh, Norwegian girls are really sweet. It helps with a sweet accent. Lock picking mosquitoes. So that's what we need to do. We need to train flying spider bats to pick locks from the inside. We're back to the super villainy here. Um, Fuck yeah. Missiles lock. Many fast solving got missiles to lock on the SR-71. They did. I mean, I remember Sweden had the fifth largest air force in the world during the Cold War. They were absolutely, and then they have completely screwed up their military, just like we're screwing up wars. So, which is why now Sweden have a very small military, by far compared, which is very much of a shame. Um, Considering now they're joining NATO, it would be nice if they joined NATO with the same military they had in 1985. But anyway, we can't. And Gripen is a very good tool for Ukraine because it's designed specifically for the job that's needed in Ukraine, and it is designed to land on dirt runways and so on. Gripen is a good plane. It's a very, very good plane. That's probably what the Ukrainians should have had instead of the F-16s. It would have probably been a better plane for that. However, government shouldn't there be a biolabs? No, where's the next fake virus going to come from? Oh, that's a horrible thing to say now. Hang on for a minute, guys. Why are you making noise outside?
What's up, man? How you doing? Ready? What's your name? Hey, just a heads up. When we run down this power and everything, we're gonna shut power down in 15 minutes. Just about. Just your name, the gate, and the cameras. There's gonna be 3 things. 15, 20 minutes, right?
I'm going to pick your brain on light sensor timers.
Oh, don't worry about the wrist one.
Uh-huh. Oh, they told you.
I'm gonna change it out.
Good, because otherwise I would try you, and then the building might burn down. All right, buddy. Yay, electricians are here to take my power. Yay. I'm not going to sit in the dark. Yay, I can go home. No. Anyway, they're talking about they're negotiating getting Gripen to Ukraine. But also, again, the Swedish that they don't have that many of them. What's the scoop on these new digs? You mean where I am? I'm sitting at the adjacent office. I'm sitting in the offices in there, and there's workers and being rebuilt, and the gates and walls are being torn down. So I'm sitting in a cubicle editing, and we have workers and electricians just got here, and it's raining, and there are dead rats swimming in lakes, and it's just a nightmare. So anyway, that's my weekend. All right, you guys. Next weekend's. I'm in this doing voiceovers next weekend. Never mind. The problem with the Gripen is they have such a small production run; they're really expensive, and price per unit will go down the more they produce. That's just the way of economics. No heel. Yeah, that's true. Don't see a lot of high heels in the Scandinavian countries anymore either. Very sad. Yeah, we've had some weird weather, and are you fucking kidding me? All right. Okay. I'm gonna shoot the electrician until he turns down his radio. Right. We are just going to pull the plug on this for now. I just wanted to catch you up a little bit on what I'm planning and what I'm kicking around on what your episodes you're going to get. I am drinking coffee with my coffee with espresso, and we got a Cuban here who makes me Cuban coffee a couple of times a day. We love that guy. Speaking of, I really want to go to Cuba. I will, as time and money permits, which there's not enough time in the day and not enough money in it But I will hopefully start doing something. I saw a rat run up the stairs. Well, that's comforting. I just saw a. Um, I want to do spin other things. I'd like to do more on the car and the bike channel. Do a little more some food shows, travel shows, a little bit of stuff like as I have time for, as possible. And I'm talking about that with that reenactment group in Czechia about actually showing um, uh, about showing about sorry, I'm trying to read the chat at the same time. I guess I'm out of coffee now. I can't multitask. I'm trying to do a World War II film, do a war movie in Czechia. If they have everything I need and we can make all the numbers work. I have a sniper movie I want to do, and I could shoot it out there, which would be interesting. I always wanted to shoot more movies in Europe, but since all the tanks and all the stuff we have here, it's just so much easier to do it here. But anyway, that's one of the things. I would like to start shooting movies in Europe because there's so many locations that are so much cooler. So anyway, that is that's sort of my thought for this year. But let me get out there and start doing some more of this. And yes, I am still hoping we Caveat have a driver with a minivan, so we could theoretically start doing some tours. But let's see what this year brings. After all, remember it's an election year in America, and chances are World War III will be started to keep Trump out of office. It would not. I would not put it past them at all. No. My Wonder posters are only in post offices. Don't want to look at myself every day. Anyway, that is sort of kind of what I had to not share with you today. Just a gossip between all of us. And I really do appreciate all of you guys who have joined, who are members, because especially this year and last year's summers couldn't have done half of what I tried to do if it hadn't been for all you guys helping out and supporting, which is why I would very much love to see if you have places you would like to see but you can't go to. Please let me know, even if it's not super interesting for everybody else. You guys have all been helping and supporting. So if there's some place, a bunker or fort or battlefield or something that you want to see, I did go to that battlefield that gentleman wrote me about last year on the West Wall where his grandfather or father fought. I forgot. Haven't heard anything back from him, but I hope he's all right. So anyway, that's it. More forts, more editing. Got some more tunnels that I found that I have to explore more, but we'll get back to that. You guys all have a wonderful Sunday wherever you are, and thank you for everything. Easy to find websites. Locations. When you send me locations, please coordinate some country. Sometimes let me know. Have some idea where it is. All right, you guys. I will talk to you later. And yes, Jeffrey, I am also thinking about doing the lecture for the Fortune Association. I just little stressed these days, a little overworked. Put it that way. And I will see you guys all soon. Be safe, be well, and if you can't be well, don't get caught doing something wrong.